Sorry, Paul, just
no award worth its name it would be presented without a cash prize, and our benefactor asks only that we not present a check. He, like all country and western fans, believes in Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
So would you share a few words with us?
Well, thank you very much, Paul. Thanks very much for that, brother.
I think we may have somebody else who wants to present something a bit later.
What an honor it is to get this award from a man like Paul Fromm. He's been in this fight since 1965 for all our freedom. And I'm happy to have Paul on my show once in a while on ftjmedia.com. Paul's going to be on tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock till noon. He's on quite often on Fridays. He also appears on Giuseppe with me, with a few other fellas, notable people, from 1 till 3 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So Paul's getting his word out there still. And Paul's amazing. I've seen this gentleman pick people up and drive very far just to pick up 1 or 2 people. All right, so what an honor it is to get this from Paul Fromm. And also, the person that established this award, Doug Christie. What a man. I could have used a man like Doug Christie at my trial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the thing. My defense was terrible. I wasn't even allowed to prepare a defense. I wasn't even allowed to bring the Talmud in. Basically, the defense that I was allowed, that the law says that would prove me innocent, was number one, if it's true what I said, whether it's in the public good, or whether or not it comes from a religious text. Everything I said pretty much satisfied all three if it had to do with the Talmud. And then other things that we could have proved as well would have been, as the Crown Prosecutor testified in front of the jury, she called it the myth of Jewish Bolshevism. Well, Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote about the myth of Jewish Bolshevism, and he didn't seem to make it sound like a myth. While I was in jail, I read the book. I read 2/3 of the book. I couldn't get the 3rd volume to finish it, so I haven't read the entire in its entirety. But it was quite an eye-opening experience, and Paul was right. They treat us political people worse than criminals, like murderers and other type of people, right? Because they know that they're going to hang on to power until someone like us show up. Paul Fromm is also a politician. He's run in many elections as well. He's got a lot of courage. You know, and Doug Christie had a tremendous amount of courage. He was going up against the system. And, you know, early on in life, before I knew what was what, I was a bit critical of the story, people that questioned it, but now I know a little bit, and I changed my mind on that. But we're not allowed to talk about that specifically because it's against the law. All right, we have a legal version of history and an illegal version of history. All right. So regarding this award, it's not an easy one to get. You know, I had to do a lot to get this award. You know, I had to call people to my house with their guns and ammo to go on safari to disarm and arrest the police for murdering our people with vaccines and for backing up a corrupt government. Now, I didn't think anybody was going to show up, right? But I had to say it because I'm a politician, and I can't throw other politicians in jail and expect for myself to remain free if I did what they did. So I had to differentiate myself, and I was glad to do it as well. And like I said, there was no mens rea for threatening, but they convicted me anyway. Like I said, I wasn't even allowed to prepare a defense. Unbelievable, okay? And I did everything that I did for my beautiful Canadian people. I risked my life for them, and I continue to do so by trying to change the banking system. Thank you very much. Just ask Abraham Lincoln and JFK what happens when you go against bankers, all right? So I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do this so right, I'm going to be such a bullet magnet, people are going to call me Magnetic North, all right? So we're going to do this thing right. We're going to win, or we're going to die trying, but we're going to win. Forget about this, all right? That's it, right? when I'm done with this, before I retire, when I'm an old man, that'll be in 9 years from now. Hopefully we'll have changed our financial system, and every senior citizen will have $800 per week pension, right? And people will get paid to go to school, and no one's going to pay tax, and no one's going to pay interest on homes. And I'm not here to sell anything right now. I'm just kind of giving you guys a little view into the future. Our future looks great. Right now they want to make it look like there's no hope, right? But if we use our free speech, what's left of it, and allow the Americans to do the heavy lifting for us when it comes to topics that we can't talk about, FTJ Media will do the heavy lifting for us. These guys are awesome over there, right? And I'm glad to be associated with all the fellas over there. So all we have to do is just keep speaking. Stay legal. Stay out of jail. Okay, that's the thing. Criticizing the bankers is legal, but the results can be fatal. I'm not in a hurry to die. But if we don't do it, nothing will ever happen. I have to be the tip of the spear. So I ask the people to push me, the spear, into the enemy, and we'll win. We will win. All right, guaranteed. There's not going to be any 15-minute cities. You know, we're not going to be eating crickets, and we're not going to own nothing and be happy, because we'll be very unhappy. All right? We're going to fix everything. People's rent's going to be $500 a month. You're going to be able to build your bank account in the future. And that's where I want this speech to end. I want it to lead to this end. I want Canadians to be safe and prosperous. And it can't happen if I keep my mouth shut. The police will continue to terrorize us if I don't suggest that we change them out and replace them with a Nationalist Protection Force that will make sure that communism never comes back again, ever. We can't have that. All right, free speech can be used frivolously, or it can be used to save lives. In jail, I used my speech to save lives. I told the guys on the ranges, don't take the vaccines, whatever you do. And I'm pleased that a guy like me, that was completely out of their circle, right? Someone who they might not even trust, because I'm not a regular criminal, I'm a different kind. But the fellas look up to me. And they took my advice, and not one person on any range that I was on got the vaccines. Awesome. Word got around the prison. And I don't think a whole lot of guys got the vaccines after I showed up on the scene, all right?
Yay.
That's wonderful. Okay, so free speech can be used to save lives. I saved a diabetic one night with my speech. I thought the faucet was running. He was peeing himself because he was a diabetic. And had I not called the guard, that guy would have died. They said when they checked his blood sugar, it wasn't even registering. He was almost dead. I saved the man's life. A guard later said, I hope he thanked you for saving him. All right? I even enlightened people politically. The guards would look at me like I was a bit of a joke when I first got there. Like, who's this clown who did all these things and said these words and got himself in trouble? After about a year or so, things started to turn. And it wasn't even long after that when they actually gave me a job in the jail that I got to talk to the people outside my range. And I got to talk to the guards. Now, as an inmate, you're not supposed to crack to the guards, they call it. You don't talk to them, but the fellas knew my game. They knew that I'm a Canadian, and I'm trying to unite Canadians, right? And their operational security on the range was not compromised, believe me. But the guards came to me for political advice afterwards. Serious advice, and we had real good discussions. I think I turned a lot of them off Pierre Poilievre, thank God. All right? We don't need a sissy communist proponent of Epstein Island, right? Because every time he talks, he always mentions anti-Semitism, right? But he says he likes free speech. How's he going to enforce these things? Of course he's going to take our speech away. And the Conservatives already did. The Conservatives brought in the Holocaust denial law. They call it the incitement of anti-Semitism law. right? And it didn't pass under Bill 250. Instead, it was stuffed into Trudeau's budget bill, Bill C-19, if I'm not mistaken, and it went through. They colluded. The Liberals and Conservatives colluded. These anti-speech laws are the linchpin of Zionist communism. And so is charging interest. For the people out there in the world, in Canada I should say, who are going to vote, if you want to see if your politicians are credible, see if they allow free speech, and see if they charge interest on money that's been printed out of thin air. If they don't like free speech and they charge interest, they're no good. That's all there is to it, right? And interest-free banking should be the #1 human right in this world. Free speech should actually be #2 when you really think about it, as important as it is. And then #3 will be the ability to defend yourself. And our policies, we've got a guy in here, I don't want to say who it is, but I think this fella might have used some of these little gadgets. And if you go to my website, the Labour First website for the party, for our gun rights, you'll see that there's a fellow with a rocket launcher in a snowsuit over a bank. Probably one of my colleagues' friends here from the old days in the Airborne Regiment. I also included a paratrooper with a friend in mind, all right? So we've got some hard Canucks here that are helping. And everyone in this room right now, you're also heroic just for being here in these times. And the Canadian people need to know that there's people like us out there, and I'm sure we share a lot of the same sentiments that they do. You know, a lot of people here are just regular folks, every single one of them. A couple of them are more exceptional than others in certain ways. Like Paul Fromm, for sure, 65 years in a fight. You know, that's like almost 10 years before I was born. Hey, how's that? So Paul's the godfather of freedom in Canada. You know, it's amazing, right? So